Yo, Rodney Catania, you won the giveaway from last week's video. I appreciate you commenting on it. It means you watched it. It means a lot to me. So I'm going to send you a comic book. That's pretty cool. Use the code TOM101 to unlock a free 1-week subscription of the best comic app that exists. It's Key Collector Comics. Hit the link in the description and you can download it for either iPhones or Androids. And it's going to be the best comic book tool that you're going to have at your disposal. Enjoy your Hot 10.
Another week, another list of the height of the market in the comic book industry. And you know I'm at the table virtually with a good friend, Gem from GemMintCollectibles. And what did you do this week, my man? We have the first Gem Mint variant coming into existence.
That's right, man. We finally got our first exclusive variant with Dynamite Comics. Ken Haser did a Vampirella holding a gem, and it is on Indiegogo right now. We got about 30 days left, so check the link in the description below to back the variant. You can get the regular, the CGC, the signature, all that.
We're going to kick off this list at number 10 with some huge records because the Comic Links auction ended and blew the minds of so many dealers with the amount of spikes that happened. Let's take a look at number 10 on the list. The first appearance of Dr. Doom in Fantastic Four issue number 5.
Yeah, there hasn't been any new news. We know that the MCU is going to do Fantastic Four. Everybody's trying to get the big FF keys, and Fantastic Four 5 is probably the number 2 book to own for Fantastic Four keys. The reason why it's on this list is because of the Comic Link auction for a CGC 7.5. The prior sale in August was $13,200. Well, we just have a new record at $15,500.
With the height of the market moving, the lower grade copies start to follow. A 5.5, which once went for $8,000 as early as September of this year, now going for $9,500. And it didn't just stop there, a 6.5. Huge movement. Once going for $9,700 just this past October, now going for $11,400. We know about Disney's acquisition of Fox for $71 billion. Fantastic Four is coming, and Dr. Doom, we may actually see earlier than Fantastic Four news if we see him introduced in Disney Plus, which is what the rumors currently are.
Sticking with the Silver Age blue chip keys, we have at number 9, X-Men 1, the first appearance of the original 5, Professor X, Magneto, the Mutants.
We just chatted about the acquisition, and it didn't stop with Fantastic Four, comic fam. If anything, I think there's probably more likelihood to see mutants in Disney Plus, their own solo series, possibly new teams being introduced, and records for this major book were bound to happen. Let's take a look at the numbers. We have been chatting records over and over again all year for this book, and lower grade copies are where we're going to start because they be moving. $2,500 was once the buy-in for the lowest grade 0.5 copy you can get for this blue chip, now being exceeded by a sale at $2,650. Prior records for a 4.0 was $7,600 July of this year. Now seeing an all-new record of $10,000. Heck, a 7.0. We were reporting back in June that it hit $21K, a new high of $25,752.
You would expect Fantastic Four and X-Men keys to make it on this list. We know that they're coming, but nothing is hotter right now than Star Wars. Number 8 on the list is Star Wars 42, the first comic book appearance of Boba Fett, the first appearance of Yoda, the first appearance of Bosk, of Emperor Palpatine.
IG-88 going unnamed, but making an appearance in here too. We have a comic book that was reprinted from a magazine that offers the first appearance of Boba Fett in comics in American Standard comic books. This book has become one of the major keys of choice that collectors have been speculating for months now, and we're seeing even more highs as more members of the community back Mandalorian spec for good reason, and we're still not chatting about the newsstand 9.8.
Man, the newsstand 9.8 just made a $500 increase from its previous sale of $1,200. It just sold for $1,700. We're continuing to see $800 sales for CGC 9.6s. We have record breakers in 9.4 and 7.0, and we even have a raw copy that hit a 90-day high of $330. And I'll tell you what, keep an eye on this book because with the most recent episode of The Mandalorian, people are going to have Boba Fett fever.
Now let's take a look at number 7 on the list. We have it 2 times in a row on the list. Week over week, we have Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 3, the first appearance and origin of Dr. Otto Octavius.
The last thing I thought we were going to talk about with ASM 3 was a CGC 9.8 sale, but one came up during the Comic Link auction and it went for an insane price, $115,000 for this 9.8.
Comic fam, this comic book at 9.8, single digit Spidey, it's ghost kind of stuff, horror kind of stuff. I'm scared to even report on this comic book. There's only one CGC 9.8 of Amazing Spider-Man issue 1 on the CGC census currently. Only one 9.8 of ASM issue number 2 on the CGC census currently. Only 2 copies graded at 9.8 of Amazing Spider-Man issue number 3, first Doc Ock. And there are 0 copies in existence currently on the CGC census of any 9.8s of Amazing Spider-Man issue number 4. That coupled with more Spider-Man spec that we're going to get to later on the list. This is historical record keeping in the making, comic fam. Hit that subscribe button and let's chat about number 6 on the list.
Yeah, and speaking of Spider-Man spec, we have the first appearance of Miles Morales in a comic book previews, Marvel's Preview 95. Now, we had a lot of discussion on whether this should be considered a first appearance or not. Regardless of what we think, somebody out there is putting money into this book.
We were surprised to report on the initial 9.8 record breaker being broken by a 9.6 in like 3 short months. Now, last week when we reported on a $4,000 sale at a 9.6, we mentioned the auction that was going to end soon of a 9.8. Gem, I got to know, how surprised were you when you saw that it went for $7,400?
It went for $7,400. When we reported on it, it had, a day left, and it was at like $3,500. It doubled since the release of that video.
It is insane. Comic fam, the previews have officially taken over collecting. I still want to know your thoughts. We keep asking it every week, but you keep doubling the prices. So I'm just going to double down and ask you to let me know in the comment section below. Like and subscribe. It'll enter you to win this Maestro issue number 1, Comic Tom exclusive. It's not as cool as your exclusive, Gem.
You got to have Vampirella holding a Comic Tom to get as cool as mine.
That's right, comic fam. Let's take a look at, what is this? More Star Wars news at number 5.
Yeah, we knew we would see the book on the list this week since Ahsoka Tano made her debut in The Mandalorian last week. We have Star Wars The Clone Wars issue 1 with another record-breaking sale. Last week, the CGC 9.6 sold for $1,195. Well, that record was broken with $1,300.
We saw 2 different 9.4 record breakers this week, a previous high of 675 being shattered with 2 different sales, one for $750 and one for $875. I'll remind the community about the all-time high for the 9.8 of this comic book being broke last week for $3,900, still being undefeated by the Dark Horse 100 variant that sold 2 weeks ago for $4,000. Coupling all of this positive spec payoff with the fact that Rosario Dawson is currently slated for more live action appearances, possibly in cinema, we haven't seen the last of Ahsoka Tano. We're just getting started.
And guys, be careful. eBay will often list the Clone Wars issue 2 as her second appearance, but she actually appeared in Star Wars The Clone Wars Shipyard of Doom prior to issue 2.
And now at the listed number 4, Amazing Spider-Man annual number 1. Gem, I woke up to, what is it? It's Everything Always. Michael Roman, he posted a video covering the Latin American teaser of the Spider-Verse multiverse. I think that this is proof that it's all happening.
Yeah, shout out to my boy Michael Roman. He's always got the inside scoop with these type of specs. And this was a book that has been spec'd on for years, man. Ever since, I think, the Amazing Spider-Man movie franchise. It's the first annual. You have this awesome cover with all the villains on the front, Steve Ditko artwork, and you have the first appearance of the Sinister Six. This was his big villain team, the first big villain team.
That's right. We got Dr. Octopus, Electro, Kraven the Hunter, Mysterio, Sandman, and the Vulture teaming up for the first time in Spidey canon and debuting for the first time after like 3 or 4 appearances. This is really early Spidey, and we've already seen 4 of these characters on this screen already. And this very week, Jamie Foxx has been officially confirmed by The Hollywood Reporter to be reprising his role as Electro, which means we only have one more villain. Too bad we have no Kraven. Wait, we've already reported on Kraven being in the works. It's a perfect storm.
Yeah, that Latin America showcase really lets you think that they're going Spider-Verse with this, and I think they should. This is the 8th solo Spider-Man movie, and he was also featured in Avengers movies, so they should definitely do something different, and that has never been done before.
We're seeing huge records this week. At 4.0, once going for $950, just broke the $1,000 record, going for $1,175. A 4.5, which was the $1,000 benchmark, now going for $1,200. A 7.5, going for once $3,500, now going for $4,200. But this is the big one, comic fam. A 9.0, once going for $8,000, now selling this week for $14,000.
All right, y'all. Number 3 on the list is the 3rd Star Wars book on the list, and it's Star Wars Darth Vader issue 3, triple threes. It's the first appearance of Dr. Aphra and the evil assassin droids 000 and BT1. This book hit the first milestone sale over 4 figures.
That's right. We got the Salvador LaRocca 1 in 25 variant, and we've been waiting to see it break the $1,000 marker, and it happened this week with a whopping $1,400 sale.
The previous high for this book back in August was $900, but then we got rumors of casting agencies looking for an Indiana Jones type character for the Star Wars franchise, basically sounding like they wanted a Dr. Aphra.
Well, she is an archaeologist, Gem. I mean, it kind of fits the bill. And we also saw Cover A seeing a new record as well. A 9.8, once going for $300, has officially hit $400. And at number 2 on the list, we have another Star Wars comic book to discuss.
Man, everybody's got Star Wars fever right now, including myself, who just purchased my very first Star Wars statue. Grand Admiral Thrawn was name-dropped in The Mandalorian, and now his first appearance is heating up. We're talking about Star Wars The Heir to the Empire issue 1, but we're talking about that newsstand variant.
What's interesting is that Grand Admiral Thrawn made the trending list last week. He made our top 10 list this past week with his origin issue making the list. But the newsstand is what put this comic on the list here today, because we have a CGC 9.8, once going for $800 highs, selling for more than double $1,700 for a 9.8 newsstand of this comic book. Clearly, we may have an antagonist to spec on in this Star Wars mythos, courtesy of Disney Plus, and one that is more dangerous, cunning, and brilliant than Darth Vader.
All right, guys, before we jump into number 1, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We do this video every week. Hit that like button and drop a comment below so you're entered into the giveaway. Number 1 on this list, it can't stay off the list. There's no media hype. There's no reason why it really should be here, except for the fact that this book is selling in all grades and all printings. TMNT number 1.
That's right, comic fam. We have the first appearance of our Turtles. We have the first appearance of Splinter and Shredder and the rest. We have a major Copper Age key that we've been reporting on month over month over month. And now we have a Comic Links auction that ended this week that's going to see some of the heights explode.
Before we get into the auction numbers and what the book's been selling for, let's break down the print run numbers on these guys.
Let's start them off with the 5th printing with 95 total graded copies on the census, with most of them being in 9.6. Look at the 4th printing that has a print count of 60,000 with 219 total graded, with 50 of which in 9.8 grades. Also, the majority being in 9.6. The third print has a print run of 35,000 with 789 total graded, with 54 of them at 9.8, the majority of which are graded at 9.4. The second printing has a 6,000 print count with 382 total graded, with a lonely 6 that exist at 9.8. And then we have the coveted first printing, with 3,000 units being printed originally, 814 in total graded, with only 28 graded at 9.8 on the census. With only 4 9.8s having been added to the census in the last 4 years.
All right, so let's take a look at some of these sales. Let's start with the third printings. A CGC 7.0 had a previous sale in August of $335. It sold for $1,055. Now, the third printing is kind of all over the place with prices from $500 to $1,500. It's a very volatile book in third printing. A 9.6 sold for over $2,000 in October, and we saw 2 more 9.6s sell for over $2,000 just this week. All right, moving over to second printings, we have a 3-month high of a raw copy for $2,500. A CGC 7.5 had a previous record of $585 back in 2018, just sold for $2,100, and an 8.0, which sold for $2,500 back in October, sold for $3,000. But on to the big boy, the first printing, the reason why you're all here. A CGC 6.5 had a high sale of $6,000 in May, almost doubled, selling at $11,350. And then a 7.0, which sold for $9,600 in September, sold for $15,600, breaking records in all grades and all printings.
Comic fam, you know we're going to be here every week for you to report on the heights of the comic market. And if you want to be here with us, you just got to hit the subscribe button. It's as easy as hitting a button on the screen. We appreciate you. And as always,
geek responsibly, stay minty fresh, and get that Vampirella variant.
That's right. Nuff said. Comic fam, we have other videos for you to check out. Link in the description for all the stuff that we chatted about, especially that variant by GemMintCollectibles. He's a good friend of mine. He's a member of our community. And let's support him and get yourself a dope comic. Have a great week.